the reason I wanted to do the record, I hadn't put out anything under my own name before, and I wanted to be like, okay, I need a songwriter who I love to make the record that I want to make with all the time in the world and be able to make all the choices that I want to make without anyone looking over my shoulder. You know, like, we all have artists that we're like, oh, this is my person, and I'm going to, like, pull out all the stops on this record and spend way more time than I'm being paid for to do it. And I got to be that artist for myself, which was fun. I was like, this is the artist I'm babying. It's me.
Welcome to Gear Club!
Hey, everyone. John and Stuart had to sit this one out, so in this episode, I sit down with Grammy Award-winning producer, engineer, musician, studio owner, and cool name-having Lorenzo Wolf. He's worked with the likes of Taylor Swift, Randy Newman, Lauryn Hill, Ye, and just about every musician local to New York City. Lorenzo owns and operates the recently expanded and renovated Restoration Sound in Brooklyn, New York, featuring a main tracking studio with a 32-channel 80 series Neve console and multiple production rooms, one of which is reserved for his revolving residency program. Lorenzo and I got to talk about his work on Grammy Award-winning albums, his ongoing work with Miss Lauryn Hill, his approach to record making, and the production of his own albums. This interview starts after a studio tour of Restoration Sound, which you can find on our YouTube page at Gear Club Podcast. During that tour, we spoke to Annie Hart, the recipient of the Residency program for January 2025. We just talked to Annie.
Yeah, Annie Hart.
Annie Hart, who is this month's recipient of the Residency.
So it's the C room of those rooms over there. Mm-hmm. And so it's Residency, and it's a residency.
I see what you did there.
It's kind of a big brain type of thing, yeah. It's a thinker. So this is Annie is the second recipient of it. Each one serves a different population of people. So the first one was for people who had moved to New York within the last year. This iteration is for people who have kids, musicians who are parents.
Yeah, great.
And the third one coming up is for immigrants and the children of immigrants. So like every month it's going to be a different population of people that could use a quiet space with gear to record in, like 24/7 access, unbothered, except that we just went over and talk to her. But basically like a space to be able to do things in a city that is less and less hospitable to quiet recording.
Yeah.
Like if you're in Williamsburg, it's like pretty hard to find a quiet place to be able to record an acoustic guitar if you're not someone who's paying for it every month. So the point of this is like, let's take the money part out of it and let people see what they can do if they have a place that's quiet and you can record it.
Yeah. And you throw in a day of recording in this space with it.
Yeah, because like that room, as you saw, is like big enough that you can do a ton of stuff. But for example, Aaliyah, the first recipient, does these like large horn arrangements, and she really wanted to be able to get a bunch of people playing horns at the same time. So next month we're going to get together and like have a big wind ensemble play together in this room because she wasn't able to do it in the smaller one. Yeah.
But you're not even concerned that it happens within that month. You're just like, it's on my tab. Hit me up and we'll do it.
Whenever. Yeah, because not everybody is like, oh, I did 2 weeks and now I'm ready to track a band. Of course. You know, like some people are still writing or still figuring out what they're doing. So yeah, it's just like
incredible.
It's also a cool way to meet new people because you like do these submissions and then all these people are like, oh, this is cool. My friend sent me this because I'm a mom or I'm a dad or I just moved to New York or I immigrated here. And like, it means that I get to like check out all these people's music and all these people's stories that I wouldn't otherwise necessarily be connected with.
How do you choose? Or how have you chose?
Based on how much I think someone would use it, like how useful it would be to the person and how much resources they have to find a way to do it if I weren't going to help them. So like, if someone is like, I really need this, I'm really going to work in there and I'm going to make something cool because of this that I wouldn't otherwise be able to make, that's like the thing that's most important to me.
And then you're just planning on kind of keeping this rolling for the time being.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it going because like there's enough income coming in from the rental rooms to take some pressure off the studio from being like a every day has to be booked kind of thing.
Yeah, great.
And that room, I've kind of like budgeted into the rents of all the rooms that room would not generate any income. So that room is always being used for like sometimes there's not a resident in there. And then sometimes like, for example, if an outside engineer rents this space, I'll go in there and like do editing work or fix things or do whatever I need to do. And since I built this place out, it's like all of a sudden, and I got the Neve and stuff, all of a sudden it's a place that is more attractive to outside engineers. So like,
Totally.
there's been a lot more of like people renting it and using it, which never used to happen when it was just a little room.
Let's back up. You grew up in New York.
I grew up in Nyak, New York. So for people who are from New York, they're like, "You from New York?" And I have to say no. And then people who are from upstate, they're like, "Are you from upstate?" And I have to say no. So I'm like from the burbs. I'm from like
Yeah.
an hour north of the city.
You're right. Close
Right.
enough to come in for lunch, far enough away to not come get a bagel.
Right. And culturally more Priuses than pickups. But Nyack was
sure.
a cool place to grow up because it had like tons of New York expats and lots of artists and like a pretty cool like bar band scene, which is how I learned how to play bass, playing in like bar bands with, he's up on the wall there, the guy Frankie D, who's like this amazing frontman, singer, makes his own clothes. So there's people in Nyack who are like weird and interesting and artistic and exciting. So it was a cool and it was integrated. It was 40% black and 60% white. So like there was a musical conversation that was not just white people or just black people. It was like a place where people kind of
Amazing.
Yeah.
That must have really informed you in how you developed as a musician.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I was like the little kid with all these like kind of grizzled bar band guys. I definitely like learned a lot about being a musician and a lot about various other things as well. There's this bar in Nyack called Olives that's like a real dive bar that had live music 4 or 5 nights a week and was like a cool place to go and hang out and meet other musicians. There was like a community of musicians there that was an interesting place to be. I was in the house band with this guy at the open mic on Wednesdays, so every Wednesday.
At how old?
13 to 20.
13?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When I was 13, I would like come
bass.
and playing bass.
And bass was your first instrument?
Bass is my first instrument, yeah. So when I was 13, it would be like, I would go there with my parents, and we would like stay for the first set and then go home. And then by the time I was like 15, I would be doing it all night and then waking up the next morning and going to school at like 7 after being there until 1 and just like,
yeah,
this is the best. I loved it. So I was doing that, and then I was working at this guitar store called 30th Street Guitars at the same time. So because Nyack is close enough to the city, I would take the bus in. So that was like this other kind of education where you'd like go in the city and see all these like really legit cool New York people, you know, like coming, like Billy F. Gibbons would come in and play a guitar, and you'd be like, whoa, that's that guy. Like I shook Pino Palladino's hand and was like at 15 or whatever. And it was just like my mind was blown.
That's pretty amazing.
And equally learning a lot about like, here's how you hang. Because guitar stores are like not really a place to buy a guitar. They're like a place to go and hang out with cool people who like guitars as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I think so. I've never bought anything at a guitar store. So
well, but like, okay, so
it happens once in a while, but I have no idea by who.
Well, but so like you're a blues lawyer, and you're like, man, I think I really need another Strat. I need my third 50s Strat.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go to this vintage guitar store, and I'm going to buy one, and it's going to be amazing to have this vintage Strat. And then the point of the guy who works at the guitar store is to be like, you're cool. You're at this guitar store buying this Strat from me. Yeah. You're a cool guy. And so like there's a certain amount of that happens at the studio too, where you're like, I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel like you belong here and deserve the space to be an artist.
Support and validation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
man.
time.
Absolutely.
Big time. And guitars, it's easy to make fun of guitar stores because like they do, even I just did it even with like Blues Lawyer. They cater now especially to like people who make a lot of money and buy vintage guitars.
Well, that's the thing, right? You can't, a player can't go there and buy that instrument because it's just out of reach.
Right. But it's the same skill set to like make that guy feel good about buying this guitar as it is to have like a really great artist come to the studio and be like, yeah, you belong here. You deserve this space and to be able to do this thing. I got more hazing at the guitar store than I did at recording studios.
Yeah, I could see that.
So the first day I like came in and they were like, tune the acoustics, go upstairs, like, and the acoustic room, like you could kind of see, it was like upstairs, but you can kind of see downstairs. Like, go up and tune the acoustics. So I'd go up there and I started tuning with a tuner. And Matt, who runs the place, called up from downstairs and he was like, you got to sing along when you tune them. You got to sing the note that you're playing while you tune it. And he let me do it for so long. It was like at least a half an hour of me being like, It was pretty gentle, all things considered, in terms of hazing.
Were you just like counter and tuning and stuff like that, or did they teach you about setting stuff up or anything?
It was more the fixing side of it than the retail side of it. Yeah. It was more like, Matt had a line of guitars called Rust that were like relict. And so part of my job was to like beat up his line of guitars. Which was super fun. There was these stairs that we'd walk down and like bang the body against the like stairwell on the bottom as it went down to like give it a dent. Every time you went down, you'd grab another body and bang it on the ceiling.
Unbelievable.
Perfect for a teenager.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to spend that angst. So you're in Nyak, went till you're like 20?
No, I got out of high school a year early. I sometimes pretend that I dropped out of high school, but I graduated high school at 17 and did put a mattress in the back of a Toyota Sienna and drove around the country for like a month and then moved into the city after that.
Wow.
So I was like 18, either just turned 18 or about to turn 18, and I moved into Washington Heights with a guy named Luca Tacon, who I'd been in a band with, a carpenter named Paul, and a Italian acrobat named Rudy Mikaggi. And most of the gigs that I've gotten in my life stem from having played in the house band at the Slipper Room for Rudy Mikaggi. Like, you trace back, you know the game where you trace back and you're like, how did I meet this person? And then I met that person, and I met that person. It all starts with Rudy Mikaggi, who was like 5'0", like super muscly acrobat dude who would wake up in the morning and come into the living room and be like, I look good today.
By the way, like every name you mention, two things. They're like the coolest name I've ever heard. And I want to be like, the Rudy Mikaggi?
Exactly. Well, he was in the Piccolo Popola Brothers in Pee Wee Herman.
The Piccolo Popola Brothers? Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He was one of the acrobats. So like, I had this gig at the Slipper Room because Rudy needed a house band, which was similar to Olive. It was like this, you're in the house band for this kind of loose conglomeration of things going on, and Rudy would do like crazy feats of acrobatics while we played. And the drummer was this guy named Eric Farber, who's this amazing kind of weird kinetic percussion, builds his own instruments dude who ran the house band, and I played bass with him. And Eric like got me involved in this whole scene of indie rock in Brooklyn in like 2009, 2010. And I played in a band with him called The Lisps.
Good name.
Yeah, it was a cool band. It was Cesar Alvarez and Sammy Tunis, and then me and Eric.
I know The Lisps.
You know The Lisps.
Oh my God,
yeah.
I totally know Sammy. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen her in years, but yeah, I know that band.
That was like one of my first, I like toured with some singer-songwriters, but that was like my first I'm in a band touring gig. And they became like, they were like this sort of art rock band that like wrote a musical, and the musical did pretty well, and so we started like playing this musical all around and like became this band that did musicals for a while, which was like an interesting, strange side arc.
Yeah, that's wild.
Because of The Lisps, I like got this inroad into musical theater and started like playing with some musical theater people and doing some like light pit work and stuff. And I just like, it was so not for me. It was so the wrong scene because the music was so secondary to the show and the like bigger picture.
Do you read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I like spent enough time in musical theater that I was like, I kind of had to be like, I'm not doing any of this anymore. Like I'm not doing any bass playing for musical theater because it's so subservient.
It's not the focus. It's supportive.
Right. So you do like Tech Week, and you're like, we still don't know the chords to this song, and they're like, we're moving on. And you're like, okay.
So you're working at the guitar store. Eventually, you start working at Second Story with Scott Lehrer.
Yeah, I started working at Second Story because I knew a guy named Steve Ellison, who's this amazing saxophone player.
I know Steve Ellison very well. He's wonderful.
Yeah. So my version of being a Nepo baby is that my dad and Steve Ellison were on a softball team together. Like they had this like, Dick Cannett was on it too. There was like this.
Come on, really?
And Dick Cannett's apparently great at softball.
Oh, man.
Okay, so Steve Ellison had done a bunch of work with Scott Lehrer and Dick Cannett because they had all known each other since like weirdo Lower East Side days. And because I grew up around Steve, when I was looking to work at a recording studio, I wanted to learn about how I had like an M box, and I was like, I don't understand how any of this works. I'm so ignorant about it. I want to play bass in studios. I want to be in studios more. The way that I figured out how to be in studios was to engineer because there wasn't
Yeah.
like I wasn't getting bass player session gigs all the time.
Yeah, okay.
And I talked to Steve about it, who has always been like a great mentor and guide about how to be a working musician in the world. And he was like, you should go work for Scott. And I met with Scott. I didn't know anything. Scott was so nice and so generous and so patient with me. And I think partially because I'd worked at the guitar store and hung out in this band, I like knew to shut up. So I was like, we had talked about this earlier, I don't know if it was recorded, but like being in the studio is so much about not talking when you don't need to talk. Assistants, it's so hard for assistants to learn that. I think I knew that and nothing else. And so Scott like taught me what a decatree was, taught me about phase, sent me to Lincoln Center Performing Arts Library to get the microphone handbook because like you couldn't, it was like $100 to buy it, but you could go there and read it. And it was like, here's what cardioid is, here's what figure eight is.
Wow.
And he also taught me that like I would sometimes ask him a question while we were working and he just wouldn't respond because he was doing something else. And it was never in a way that it was like you're less than or you're stupid. He was like, I'm doing the work of being a professional right now and I can't put an exclamation point at the end of my text metaphorically with you in the room.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from Scott about that.
Amazing.
So yeah, I worked there as an intern and then as an assistant and then built a tiny little studio in my ex-girlfriend's apartment. She had like moved out for a year and she was like, do you want to sublet this place? And I was like, yes. We weren't dating at the time. I was like, yes, I want to sublet it.
Wow.
And kept my apartment and like, it was so cheap. It was like $600. And it had a kitchen and a bedroom. And I like had the studio in the bedroom and the kitchen. You could like run a cable
Under the door. Yeah, man.
And that was the first studio. And then there was another little studio on North 12th Street in a building that's since been torn down. That was like a pre-built control room that had fallen into nobody wants it anymore. So I didn't have to build that one.
That's great.
Then after a year of that, I built the smaller version of this place.
Got it. Did you move to New York City with the ambition of being a producer?
I always admired producers. I think all bass players in some capacity, if they're good, like pay attention to producers, which is why a lot of bass players become producers because you have a lot of time. If you're playing bass well, you're not playing that many notes. And so you have a lot of time to think and a lot of time to look around and a lot of time to be like, I wonder what the drummer's doing. And then once you figure out what he's doing, you kind of like, oh, I wonder what the guitarist's doing. I wonder what the singer's doing. And then for some perverts, you start looking around and being like, why is this mic plugged in there? Or why is this, how come my bass is going through an amp today and a DI tomorrow? What does it all mean?
And that was you.
And that was me.
Yeah, okay.
One of those perverts. And my heroes growing up were like Jerry Wonder Dupliaces, who did all of the Wyclef solo stuff and some of the Fuji stuff, was a bass player who played bass on all the productions and like made the beats and produced the stuff.
Wow.
And I was always like, man, the bass lines are so cool. I found myself gravitating towards songs with cool bass lines.
So you were reading liner notes.
Oh yeah.
One of the
I mean,
benefits of growing up when you could still look at liner notes.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that there's a bird's eye view idea that songs are captivating because they relate to a person in a particular moment of time, and sometimes for long, long periods of time.
Yeah, of course, sure.
And almost always they also relate to the world as it changes. Like soul music is the perfect example of like there's a movement happening, there's a soundtrack to the movement. The songs are about love, but like they're sort of about love and they're sort of about the way the world is changing and our hopes for the ways that things can change.
Yeah.
Like You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman is not, it's about someone making someone feel right in themselves, but it's also about a larger world where someone has not felt at place broadly.
Yeah.
And when they feel at place, they're able to feel natural in who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's true, like, I Can't Make You Love Me. Like, all songs that are great contain some version of love and some version of just, like, fuck, it's hard to be a person in the world, and maybe there's room for it to feel a little bit better. Someone was telling me, like, nobody writes songs when they're happy because you're not searching for communication if you're happy about something. You're like, I got this thing, it's great. I don't need to, like, describe all of the ways that it's great.
To which I would say, my girl.
True.
But heard.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Yeah, true. Or higher and higher. But like often those songs are like, I didn't have this thing and now I have it. And like I am noticing the change that's happening that allows me to feel it.
Yeah, it's about change. It's not about the
Yeah.
staying happy.
Except for Danny Barnes' song "Peanut Butter is a Man's Best Friend," which is just like
I don't know.
It's always been good. It's always going to be good.
Peanut butter is a man's best friend. All of God's children take a chunk of bread.
Fair enough. Yeah. And then I'm thinking of songs like where does short people fit into this?
Short people, you know I'm a huge Randy Newman person.
Who in the right mind isn't?
Yeah.
But
Short people got no reason to live. They got little hands, little eyes.
I mean, Short People is a civil rights song, big time. It's about how ridiculous and small-minded any kind of bigotry or prejudice is, right? When you listen to it, you were like, this guy doesn't believe that short people have no reason to live.
right, how could he? That's such an absurd
Right.
proposition.
Well, and he builds up. So I got to record Randy Newman, and he.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I got. Do you know Judith Kampfner?
No.
So I got to record it through the BBC with this incredible producer named Judith Kampfner, and we went to his house in the Pacific Palisades, which burned down, I think, 2 weeks ago. And we went into his living room with this beautiful 9-foot Steinway concert grand, and he talked about his vision of America for 8 hours. And like
8 hours.
And played.
So this
and
was like an interview and music and
Yeah. But Judith was like, do you know any? She was like, I know you love Randy Newman. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out a perspective on this. Let's figure out some questions to ask him. We did that for a while. And then she was like, do you know anyone in LA who could like go and do the interview and the recording? And I was like, well, when is it? And she was like, it's this time. And I was like, oh, well, I'll already be there. Which was totally untrue.
I
just bought a flight.
You ate the ticket to go do it.
I just
Yeah,
bought a
of
flight. I was
course.
like, I happen to be in LA anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise it would be, yeah. I mean, I probably could have asked her for the gig. But anyway, so we went to his house, and he always talks about, he had this record called Dark Matter. It was right around then that we were doing this thing. And he talks about, like, on that record specifically, he talks about building a straw man to knock it down, right? You, like, build up the guy who thinks that short people have no reason to live, which is such an absurd perspective that it's easy to knock it down. You build up this straw man that you're like, well, that's ridiculous. There's no way that short people have no reason to live. And then that translates broadly, where you're like, there's no reason that Catholics have no reason to live. Like, it feels equally absurd. Like, the further or trans people, or... Randy Newman is amazing at it, too, because, like, these songs that once you think you know what he's talking about, it's always something bigger and scarier. Like
smart dude.
Oh, my God. The one, Birmingham, the song where he's like, it's on Rednecks, and it's like, the whole song, he's like talking about how great the South is, and then like the last couple lines, he's like, but I have a really big dog in my yard. It's like, there's this big dog, and that dog's gonna get you.
Meanest dog in Alabama. Get him down.
And it's like, oh shit, okay, this song is not just about like Miss the Mississippi and you, it's about like some scary, weird.
We are getting off on amazing tangents. I love it. No, I mean it. I love it. I knew this was going to be fun.
Yeah, cool.
Because you and I have done this while I fix op amps.
Yeah, in between me falling asleep on the floor.
It was pretty amazing. You fall. I have a picture of you asleep under this console.
No, really?
Or I don't know, you might not be asleep, but you're in like a full mechanic suit. And you're underneath here doing something. But I do remember you falling asleep out there. Because when we were installing this console, for listeners, I commissioned the console for Lorenzo and worked on it for months to get it ready to put in here. But when we were putting it in, you had just started working with Miss Lauryn Hill.
Yeah, and it was the hours that we were working were not hours that I was used to working. Because
it was like overnights.
Yeah, because Miss Hill was starting at like 4 in the afternoon and going until early the next morning, which is not uncommon in music, but for me was uncommon. And we were doing the whole Neve move at the same time. So I think I left Hit Factory, didn't come home maybe I went home for like an hour, but I think I went straight from the studio to your shop to get the Neve to bring it back here. So, but working with Miss Hill has been amazing, among other things because she has been a hero of mine my whole life. Jerry Wanda, the bass player, producer who I mentioned earlier, played bass with the Fugees and produced a bunch of the stuff with her. So like from when I was a kid, I was listening to the score and I was listening to Miseducation.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. The vocal production has been the most amazing part of it because I am in a room this far from her and she sings something and I listen to it through the headphones and I'm like, wow, it's just like listening to the record. And then I take off the headphones because I want to hear what it sounds like in the room. And it sounds just like the record that I've been listening to for my whole life. And
so you guys are in the same, she's not in a booth, you guys are in the room together.
No, because it's really fast. She's like, everything is really quick, really deliberate, really intentional, and she just wants to be right there with me while it's happening, as opposed to like, things can be fast through the glass, but there's something about being in the same room where you're like, you can't check out, you can't get distracted.
So is she doing whole takes or she's doing like, you're punching a lot, it sounds?
It comes and goes. Like she'll occasionally write while we're recording.
Wow.
So she'll like have a verse, she'll do it all the way through, get the feel for it often, and then it'll be like punches, and the punches are so quick. The punches are, you know, she says Miss Mary Mac. She doesn't like the way she said Mary. She's like, Mary, and you go back. She says the word that she wants to be able to punch, and you go back to it like before anyone can think. It's like the quickest, you know.
Wow.
So if you hit the N on the computer and the cursor keeps going, you're already too slow. Like it has to go back to the place and you're like hitting it right where it is.
Wow.
And she's amazing and she like is working on really specific versions of the way that she sings on all of those punches. It's not like there's no wasted energy and she works really hard and really long hours.
You started working with her, I guess we're talking a quarter of the way into 2024.
Yeah.
And now it's January 2025 now.
Yeah.
And you're still working on it.
Yeah, all different projects, all different songs, all different stuff. It runs the gamut from a lot of different things, and every day is a little bit different what song we're working on, or
Got it.
whether it's a collaboration or a song of her own. Or
So this isn't specifically a push towards a new record. This is just recording.
I'm not really in those conversations.
Because I know everyone, including me, would love another Lauryn Hill album.
Yeah.
But
what, that first one wasn't good enough for you?
What? She kind of had an uncanny ability to remain in the forefront of like cultural thought, even though, I mean, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill came out when?
94, 96?
I mean,
it's as relevant. I mean, it's like, you know, you listen to Frank Ocean, you listen to Dijon, and there's Miseducation in there big time.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
In a way that, like, I don't know, there's not that many other artists like that who can put out that one record that's, like, been a touchstone for so many generations of people. And maybe that's part of the reason why it's, like, Miseducation is so sacred and so beautiful that it's, like, this one record is unsullied completely. Like, it's just this perfect, it's this perfect moment. It's like To Kill a Mockingbird, you know? It's like, there's this one perfect thing.
Yeah.
And similarly, like, I mean, Miss Hill has released some things, but similarly, there wasn't like, To Kill a Mockingbird 2. They put the Chiffaro back together. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. And you like working with her?
I'm having an amazing time working with her. The thing that people always ask me when I say that I work with her is like, is she difficult? Is she, is she a hard person to be around? And I've had a great time doing it. I mean, it's a professional environment. It's not a hang. It's not cuddly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But nor, I think people spend a lot of time modifying their behavior to make other people comfortable. And I think especially very famous people have to do that a lot. You have to, like, be this version of a person. Bradley Cooper has to be so nice to everybody who comes up to him on the street and talks to him. And she's not really playing that game. She's being honest and she's saying what she thinks. But it's not cruel. It's not arbitrary. It's not difficult for difficulty's sake. Yeah. It's like, I care about this thing. I want it to be amazing. I'm not picking on you. I'm not being cruel to you because I just want this thing to be great. That's what it feels like to me, and I'm fine working with that kind of a dynamic.
Totally. Do you find it at all freeing? Because I feel like a lot of what we do is cuddly, is the hang, is like there's a lot of stuff that is ancillary to the work that can benefit the work, but that it isn't the work.
Yeah, it's like the guitar store thing that we were talking about.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, I have to do all this work to make sure that this person is comfortable and that they feel good and that they're able to express themselves, which is, like, I don't mind doing it. It's something I'm really good at. I care about doing it. But when you don't have to do it, it's like all of a sudden you dropped the ballast and you're like, we're just working now. Like this car could go so fast. Yeah, I do feel like there's a version of it, like when you work at a big studio and there's a runner and the whole environment is sort of organized so that the runner isn't treated like a human being. There's some version of small talk acknowledging someone else's existence that, like, whether it's the guy who's delivering the pizza or the assistant engineer or, like, that makes me feel closer to being a human being. There's some version of being totally. What's your name? Who are you? Yeah. Shut the fuck up and do the job, but I also, like, acknowledge that you're a person with a body and thinking
Shut the fuck up and do the job, John.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Not why did the runner fuck up, but why did John fuck up? I don't think any of us know how much of it is necessary quite. No. How much of it is just safe.
And it is weird when it doesn't have, like, I've dealt with people who don't want to do that, and feels a little cold, feels a little impersonal, and I mean, also you work in the culture that you're in. I mean, you can't, right? You got to do what everybody else is doing. So you've been in one form or another in this space for how long?
This physical space or the recording? Yeah, 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah,
amazing.
And it was tiny. All the work that I did on the Taylor Swift and the Ye stuff was in, not in a massive.
It was here. You weren't going to Electric Lady or Power Station.
No, the way I got the Taylor Swift gig is through Bobby Hawk, who is a violinist who works a lot with Jack Antonoff. And it was COVID, and they were doing that record Folklore, where it was all done remotely. And we did some of the recording, some strings recording. We were on like 4 or 5 of the songs, doing Bobby Hawk strings. And that like ended up on the record, and that's why later on Chris trusted me. Chris knew that I did this, and so he trusted me enough to work with Ye because he had been working with Ye, and he was like, if this guy's worked with Taylor Swift, whether he's good or not, he's at least in these conversations and not going to embarrass me for a recommendation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's a real pivotal moment in between like the first big credit and no credits, or like credits, local credits. Yeah. That all of a sudden people are like, oh, if this person is able to work on a national level, I can recommend them for other gigs like that and not have to worry about my own reputation. Yeah, right. It does speak to caliber. Yeah, at least like you can play at this field. Yeah, well, totally. Yeah. That to me is the most important part of a Grammy, is that whatever that means, what it does mean is that you were working on a level that got considered for that. Yeah. Because that's a real small percentage of all the music that gets made in the whole world. Absolutely. Okay, so, but Taylor, you worked on Midnights. I worked on Midnights afterwards, yeah. I also with Bobby, similar thing. We did the strings. You did the strings. We did the strings for Midnights. Got it. I don't think we tracked any drums on that. Because Bobby has a close relationship to Jack Antonoff, we did a bunch of work for Jack Antonoff remotely. And then I'm friends with a bunch of the dudes in Bleachers just from being a musician around. And so I've done some work with them. With Bleachers? With the other musicians in Bleachers who are always Jack Antonoff's band for the studio stuff. Like almost everything that gets recorded for any of Jack Antonoff's productions is done with Bleachers musicians, with people in the band. Cool. So Ye through Taylor Swift. What did you end up doing? For Ye, we did a bunch of different weird stuff. We did like, there's stuff that I don't think ever came out that was like 4 child prodigies playing upright pianos in a square at each other.
Whoa.
That was like, I don't think it ever came out. It was so cool. We went to like that Vans warehouse up in Williamsburg that they used to do shows at. And it was like these 4 kids who were all under 12 playing Ye has this piano that's like a part of his story, kind of this like this blonde Yamaha piano that like when he was learning in Chicago was the thing. And we got all 4 of these kids together in this room and I set up like a little array in the middle. And I think it was just a rehearsal, but it was this amazing, strange cacophony in a huge room. I mean, like in a warehouse, 4 upright pianos sounds crazy.
And he was there?
No, he wasn't there for that. That was like just his production team.
Yeah, I got it.
I actually didn't. It wasn't like the Miss Hill stuff. It was like everything with Ye was remote. He would sometimes video call in during sessions and like give guidance and talk about stuff.
Got it.
But yeah, that was because he was at that time he was living in the stadium in Atlanta. When he was making Donda, he was living in not the Brave Stadium, like the Falcon Stadium.
In the stadium?
In the stadium, in like these locker rooms, because there wasn't football season or whatever. So he was living in the stadium, and then he would do these live events to celebrate Donda that were like in the stadium. So he had been like, and he had like a live stream of his. It was a really cool process. He had a live stream of his room in the stadium that people could watch some of.
Okay.
While we were making this record, and I was like sending things down there, and they were listening to it with a producer named Ojai Volta. I was recording an opera singer named Justin Austin, and we were doing all these crazy choral pads that Justin would stack and stack and stack, and like he could really nail all of it really beautifully. And then we would send it in, and then 2 days later, Ye would do a live performance that included Justin Austin singing opera at the Falcon Stadium. But yes, it was like the 50s, where like you cut the acetate, you give it to the record label guy, and it's on the radio when you're driving home. Like it was like that. I like tuned in on Apple Music to watch like something that I'd recorded in this tiny little room in a basement in Brooklyn be broadcast to millions of people and in a huge stadium. It was pretty cool.
It's incredible. Well, and it also speaks to the and I don't know when exactly it happened, but the sea change in the music industry that you don't. I mean, you're mentioning major records that you didn't set foot in, like what traditionally would have been considered like a real recording studio. Not to denigrate anything that you have going on, because this, especially now, is a real recording studio.
But before it was really not. I mean, it was like there was no console.
Non-traditional spaces.
It was decidedly non-traditional before. Now it's like, this kind of looks like studio. You look up studio in a dictionary, it kind of looks like it now. At that point, it was like a producer's place, workshop that he produces stuff in.
Do you feel like that was ever a boon for you as a producer to be in a non-traditional space, to not have all the like excellent toys and the sound treatment?
It's a boon creatively sometimes to be like, oh, I have limitations in what I can do. But I think also, even in this current space, I try to curate a casual, comfortable environment for people that doesn't feel like you have to be buttoned up to be here. So I think when it was smaller, that was just like, it's a tiny little studio. Like we're intimate. Like I'm bumping into you when I go to the when I go to the live room. Now it's like I think it's a little bit more of an intentional thing that happens. Like the walls are painted funny. There's tchotchkes around. It's not like
right.
Yeah.
And by funny you mean beautifully, because I love
me too.
I love the paint and the Judee Sill picture that perfectly matches the paint job on the wall.
No planning.
That was no planning.
No planning.
Is incredible.
Yeah.
Every time I'm in here, I look at it and I'm like, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. The walls are painted by a guy named Johnny Lewis, who has a company called Remont that does like interior painting for fancy restaurants and stuff. And because we'd made music together, he's a great songwriter too. He like hooked me up and painted them. Yeah. One of the fun things that I've been doing is these records from songwriters or singers who didn't get enough credit in their lifetime, going back and finding someone who I think like somehow made it, like got caught in the sieve who shouldn't have for whatever reason. Yeah. And being able to find the things that they did, because we have all of history to be able to look back on and try to draw attention to what they did and what was important about who they were.
Yeah. And so the one that you have out, I mean, I know all this stuff,
Yeah.
but the one that you have out is you made a collection of Judee Sill songs.
Yeah.
Down where the valleys are low, there's a refuge so high. Down where the coldest winds blow, they're the warmest winds high.
So Judee Sill is funny because like I've been a fan of hers for a really long time because I'm a hipster who grew up in Nyak and like people are into Judee Sill in a certain demographic. But she's like someone who didn't really get a fair shake in her lifetime as a musician. And her music was beautiful, spooky, interesting perspective songs that like there wasn't an audience for at the time, really. Like
Yeah.
Judee Sill wasn't conventionally beautiful. She was writing these songs about like demons and
Yeah, there's a lot of angels and a lot of demons
Yeah.
in her music.
it's real like kind of outsider art. And I think now there would be more of an audience. There is more of an audience for it. In fact, like people are really getting into her.
Sure.
And I put out a record 4 years ago that was all these different musicians getting together and interpreting her work. And there's like I don't have a word for it yet, but tribute record feels like we're getting these people together to celebrate who someone is and do their record. The things that I try to do, these projects that I work on, I try to have it be a perspective on someone that they didn't have in their lifetime. So the Judee Sill stuff is like my version of the Judee Sill stuff is pretty aggressive and angular and like tougher than her music. And the reason that it was like that I did that is because her life was very tough. She robbed liquor stores, she did sex work, she was a heroin addict for a long time, she lived on the street. She was like a really tough, difficult person, personally as well. And so my version of her music, I was trying to emphasize those parts of her that were abrasive as sort of like a musical biography as much as a tribute to her music.
Musical biography might be a good way to put it, because and also it doesn't feel like a tribute album, and it's a massive departure from her original recordings.
Yeah, I was definitely like not trying to cop licks. My only rule is that like I can't change lyrics, I can't change melodies because like that's who that person is.
Yeah,
so like once I start doing that, it's just like I don't know. It's just
it's a different song. That's like the foundation of songs. Yeah, totally.
But so like the chord changes are all different on all of them. The arrangements are different on all of them. The people who sing them are often like, she was a white woman in the 70s. There's definitely like people of color singing them. There's men singing the songs. For people who were like huge Judee Sill fans, I think it was like a hard thing to listen to these other perspectives on it. Because among other things, Judee Sill, because she's not so popular, people are like really careful about her.
And my mystic roses died. Guess reality is not as it seems, so I sit here hoping for truth and a ride to the other side.
Listening to the album, I was really pleasantly surprised. Not understanding that you made it and kind of your motivations behind it, but not having no preconceived notion of what I was about to hear, experiencing it that way, it was great. Because anytime I think of like, you perform a song that has already been recorded and performed by somebody in some way that feels like canon, don't do that again.
Right.
They did it. It's there.
Right.
I mean, you can always go back and listen to it, and you did things that were reverential but radically different.
Yeah, that's the whole, it's like a biopic. You watch a biopic and you're like, yeah, I guess that's that person's story. But like, what are you trying, like, why did you make this movie? Why are you talking about them? Why are we thinking about this person? Why does it matter now? And so, yeah, part of the point of doing these records is not just to draw attention to people, but also to be like, here's a thing maybe you didn't think about in terms of who they were or what they were thinking about.
Yeah.
Or their life or how they were received or the multitudes that we all contain.
Yeah.
And I think we, especially in music, less so these days, but I think especially in older music, the people weren't allowed to be more than one thing, really. Like, Judee Sill, David Geffen really wanted her to be like folk, pop, country, Laurel Canyon. Like, here is the place in the record store that you go.
Sure.
And she pushed against it for sure in her life. But I think now, looking back on it, we're able to just like blow up the genres of who someone was and find all of these other ways of thinking about them and the music that they made.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's been fun.
The other thing I'll say about that record that kept hitting me as I listened to it is it's so dimensional. Like, I felt like a top to bottom, like so many of the sounds I felt like height to, and just in stereo mixes, which honestly made me a little envious. I was like, how is he doing this?
Well, one of the things the reason I wanted to do the record, I hadn't put out anything under my own name before, and I wanted to be like, okay, I need a songwriter who I love to make the record that I want to make with all the time in the world and be able to make all the choices that I want to make without anyone looking over my shoulder. So a great artist who's dead, who can't tell you not to do it, is a perfect artist to work with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Amazing.
It's like,
yeah, of course.
She's not here, I could do whatever I want, and I could take all the time in the world. And I learned so much about production for making that record because there was no one to be like, don't go weird here. And there was also no one to be like, that's not working. So I had to just, and I did it, I brought in musicians, very talented, wonderful musicians to play with me and to sing on it. But most of it was just like me alone making a track that then the singer would top line.
Yeah. Are you playing drums on
No,
it?
that's Jeremy Gustin on a lot of it and Zach Jones on a lot of it.
Yeah.
And then there's like the
Boy,
woodwinds.
Zach Jones is fabulous.
Oh my God. He's the best. He's so good. Yeah, so I felt like so many times when you're producing an artist, there's like either not enough time or not enough room to like experiment and mess things up. And so that record was fun because I got to like really try it. Like on one of them, the drums are being run through a talk box into a tuba, and then I'm moving the valves. So like when the drums are distorted, it's not a distortion plugin. It's like the talk box going through the tubing of the tuba being mic'd, which like I would never do on a session. Like I would never like be like, okay, we're gonna take 3 hours of the time you're paying for on this session while I set up this like surgical tube.
Trust me, no, this is gonna sound good.
It'd be great.
Listening to the record, I went, man, it's so creative, and it makes sense that you got to mess around with that stuff and not have it be a secondary thought to be that creative,
right?
To have that be a main focal point of making the record.
Yeah,
we don't get to do that enough because you're right. I mean, you have a client. There's a budget. They need to get something done. They have a vision. You can't go, what if we totally blew this up and maybe it'll be great or maybe it'll suck.
I mean, or you do it on your own time with an artist sometimes. Like when there's, like we all have artists that we're like, oh, this is my person and I'm gonna like pull out all the stops on this record and spend way more time than I'm being paid for to do it. And I got to be that artist for myself, which was fun. I was like, this is the artist I'm babying. It's me.
Love it. And you're working on another one.
Yeah, I'm working on one for I always say for, like, because I think of it as like, there's this person who's made this thing and I'm doing this for them, sort of. So I'm doing it for this guy, Johnny Rodriguez.
You tell me go, then call me back, and then you set me free. You always come back to hurting me.
Who is still alive and is an amazing songwriter and singer who came out of Texas in the 70s and was the first Latino person to like have big country music hits. It was like Charlie Pride was African American, and then Johnny Rodriguez, and then Freddie Fender. But there was like such a small group of people who weren't white making country music in the 70s. And he had huge hits and this beautiful voice and great songs. He's like, sort of sounds like Merle Haggard. They're all most of his records that were big hits were produced by this guy, Jerry Kennedy, who ran Mercury Records in the 70s. And they're like these great countrypolitan arrangements. And like the Judee Sill record, there's a couple songs on it that like no one has heard and I can't find online, that I can only find on the vinyl, that I didn't fuck up in the way that I fucked up all the Judee Sill stuff, because I'm like, these songs are amazing. People need to hear them. I don't need to put my perspective on them. I just need to get ears on them.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are like all turned on their head and arranged in crazy ways. And
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Do you do your own music at all? Do you do James Frazee music?
I, right this second, no. I play on people's records that I'm making. Well, and I feel like I get that, like, fix with a lot of the artists I end up working with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really collaborative, and so I'm, you know, especially if I'm producing, I'm not afraid to really throw that part of things around and try different stuff within whatever parameters the gig is set in. But
Yeah. How do you, I feel like the especially as engineer, producer, studio owner thing becomes more common, the line between producer and engineer is just like hardly a line at all at this point for me.
Well, and people hire you for one thing and you end up doing something else.
Right.
And, I mean, there's been a ton of projects that I've had to, at the end, kind of be like, so, do you think I helped you produce this? Because I think I did.
Right.
And usually people are like, yeah, totally.
Right.
But it's also, right, those things get tricky with like credit, but also compensation. And like, and there's no back end now, you know, like 2% of nothing is nothing.
Totally.
And not that people aren't going to listen to the music, but nobody like there is no physical sale of anything now.
But there's even the moment where you're like, for example, like someone books the studio for a day and it's like, I'm tracking drums and bass. You're going to engineer. I'm like, cool. I'm so happy to engineer. And then halfway through the day, you're like, I have an idea and I'm not going to not say it. Like,
well, that's also how you get that's how it keeps going. And that's how you get to produce the thing is by,
unless there's already a producer there, in which case I'll like tell, like if there's a producer, which doesn't happen that much anymore. But sometimes they'll be like, I'll be engineering and there'll be a producer and I'll be like, I have an idea about this, tell the producer. If the producer likes it, they can tell it to the artist. But most of the time it's like, if I'm engineering, I'm like doing some version of producing. Even just being like, hey, that was out of tune.
Well, that was a good take. Or like, I think we need to do that again. Yeah, of course. I mean, and I right. And not to say that I ever hold that back. Like if I'm engineering, I just do what I think is right, regardless. But do we miss anything?
I feel good.
I feel great.
That was so fun.
This is a lot of fun.
So fun.
No, I love doing this, and I was really looking forward.
Oh man, thank you so much for asking me to do it. This was so great.
Man, it's our pleasure.
So cool.
For information and to apply for the Restoration Sound Residency program, go to restorationsound.com. For links, playlists, and extras for this and all our episodes, go to gearclubpodcast.com and be sure to sign up for our mailing list for the latest news and interviews. Follow us on social media at Gear Club Podcast and head over to our YouTube channel at Gear Club Podcast for video versions of all our episodes and more.
Thanks for listening. Gear Club is produced by James Frazee and the inexplicably enigmatic Jacques Friest. Our video wizard is Emily Sassmore. Matt Ely is our production and marketing czar. Una Navarro is our social media maven. Gear Club is hosted by Stuart Lerman and Jean Angelo, and sometimes James. Big thanks to this episode's guests, our musical director Mel F. Lewis, our legal counsel, the firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, our house band, the Silver Merkins, and our sponsor, Eventide.
I was just in the middle of some deep audio shit.